My name is Alicia Sapatic. I'm a livestock and feed extension specialist with the Ministry of Agriculture. In this video, we'll be hearing from bison producers in Saskatchewan about the different types of fences that they use on their operations.
So bison differ from cattle as far as fencing goes, where we need to be probably 12 inches higher than a regular beef fence. But as far as the animal reaching through, cattle love to reach through fences to get to the other side, where bison don't do that so much. They're actually probably easier to keep in than beef in that sense, but you do need that extra height to keep them from jumping over. And then the quality of your perimeter fence really depends on your area that you're in as well. If you're just outside of Saskatchewan, for instance, you'd probably want to be with a page wire just for the security reasons. So for a perimeter fence on my farm, what I like to run is a 5-wire fence, 4 of which are barbed wires, and then there's a single hot wire within it. And that single hot wire allows me to run my electric cross fences wherever I want on my farm and easily tie into the power. If I was to do it again, I would put my electric wire in the center rather than on the second from the bottom, simply because I get too much grounding out with grass, with tall grass and trees on my land. So if it was in the center, I believe it would be better. And the beauty of the barbed wire is bison don't like to get caught up in things, so the barbed wire actually is a pretty big deterrent to them. So here we've got our 4 barbed wires. We've got barbed wire on the top, and then we've got a hot wire in the second wire, and then 3rd, 4th, and 5th are all barbed wires. And like I'd mentioned, I'd prefer that this one be my electric one in the future.
Another advantage to the barbed wire perimeter fence with the single hot wire is it's a little bit more wildlife friendly than other types of fencing. Often I will take a high wildlife crossing area in my pastures, and if I'm not using it, I'll just throw a tarp strap over that top wire, and I'll hook it to the bottom wire, which lifts the bottom one and lowers the top one as well, so animals can jump over it easier or go under as well. Something that producers could do in high elk areas is a similar thing, where if they're not using a pasture, simply lower that fence and give the animals somewhere to come through and not get tangled in it and not wreck our fences.
So in addition to perimeter fencing, what I like to do is have a lot of cross fencing on my farm to manage my grassland better. And this is kind of the minimal fence that I've gone down to for a permanent cross fence. So it's a 2-wire hot fence. It allows the calves to walk underneath of it if they need to. In the past, with 3-wire fences, I've had the issue of calves going through and then not wanting to come back, where with this they can go back and forth if they need to. And the cows don't feel the pressure to go through to them. They can see them and they're fine. It holds them back plenty good, and it just really makes managing my pasture that much better. The pasture on my left here has been grazed 3 or 4 weeks ago, and on the right side it hasn't been grazed yet, but it really allows me to put my bison into a paddock for 3 days to 7 days and then pull them off for 50 or 60 days before I go back to them, and it really preserves my legumes and all the mixed species in my pasture blends.
The one time of year that bison can be difficult to keep in is the springtime, when we may have snowdrifts covering our fences, and with freeze-thaw cycles they can simply walk over the snowdrifts. In the spring, bison have a tendency to want to roam around to graze open areas free of snow, which means that a good hay bale may not be enough to keep them in the pasture, when they can simply walk over a snowdrift onto more open ground. For this reason, it can be a good idea to design a pasture that is not susceptible to drifting snow and use this pasture when it is needed after a winter of heavy snowfalls. This can be done by simply observing the landscape in the spring and taking note on where the major drifts are, which will generally be over hilltops and on the field edges along the tree rows. The resulting pasture design may be odd-shaped and awkward, however the peace of mind in knowing that your herd is safe and at home will be worth the effort.
On this ranch, we went with all 5.5-foot page. I do keep it up off the ground a little bit, not very much, but we try to keep it nice and straight on the top edge. In this situation here with these steel posts, I left a gap at the top because this is closer to the handling facilities, and I do have the option of putting steel or a high tensile wire up here. The stuff that's closer to the yard, we use a lot of steel posts just for the efficiency of possibly someday changing it to an actual steel fence as we grow. The more pasture fences, we're using a wood style post, the probably 5 to 6 inch wood posts. This style of fencing we use is mine belting. I use this in high pressure areas for separation time with calves. I find that it works the best when you do the separation from calves, like weaning time, that if the calves do actually hit this stuff they won't hurt themselves. And also I think that the line of sight, they can't see through it, around it, under it, over it, that they do a lot better within the penning and stuff from when we take them away from their mothers. I absolutely love this stuff. If I get my hands on more of it, I would definitely build more fence out of it. It helps the animal so much with line of sight and visibility, and if they do bump into it, they don't hurt themselves at all.